I don't know about you, but I struggle with prioritizing those daily to dos, achieving goals, and just general task management. But what if I told you there's an app for that? Let's explore the best productivity app that you can't buy, Playlist, with its creator, Brandon Boswell. Now let's talk about it. So, all right, well, we can get started, Brandon. First off, I'm excited to have you on the show. I've been a fan of your channel for a while. Ever since I got into e-ink, you were one of the first creators that I actually saw giving some remarkable content, because that was the device I was gonna buy at first, and I loved your content ever since.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's funny, you don't that's the thing about YouTube is you don't realize the people that you're interacting with. Um, you have no idea. Like you put out a video and aside from like some really nice comments and also some really idiotic comments,
Yeah.
whether a video does well or not, you don't really know like what people are getting from it. So it's kind of cool when you bump into people and they tell you that they enjoyed it. And I appreciate you telling me that.
So this is a fun fact. Have started. You started an obsession of mine, and then Raw did at Rants About Tech. This is all
Okay.
you're doing, buddy. This is my
Oh,
wife
yeah.
is probably upset with you because I saw that
Yep.
video and I was like, that is a cool style. Yeah, that's a cool stylized. So I went to my local pen store,
What
found one.
what's funny about this is before I saw this stylus, I'd never heard of Kaweco.
Hmm.
And then I went down to a pen store and I learned that they're actually a very well-known like pen company outside
Yeah.
of e-ink. Like they're just a great pen company. And there's something about this pen, the build quality specifically of the aluminum one.
Hmm.
It's just a joy to hold. Like I don't even have an e-ink tablet that uses it on my desk anymore, but it
Yeah.
still sits on my desk just because I like having it around.
Yeah, no, I like it. And then I made the mistake and sent one to Rod. He's put his crystal nib in it. He got a leather case for it. He went all in. So I really like
Yeah.
him.
Until you use one of them, you have no idea whether you're going to like it. You hear people talk about it. I find that it's almost an impossible thing to describe in words. I try to do my best, but until you actually experience one of these things, it's really hard to describe. I remember my wife, she's a teacher by trade, and she
Mhm.
was going to a training in New York. And so she was living in the city for 5 or 6 weeks, and we visited. And I wanted to go to the Lammy. There's a store there in Manhattan,
Yep.
and I was like, oh, that was the first time I got to try the Lammy EMR pen, and I had this idea in my head of what it would be like. And then I went to the store and I picked it up and I was like, oh, this feels nothing like what I thought it was going to feel like.
Yeah.
And there's just no alternative to actually experiencing it to decide whether it's actually right for you. Until you kind of build up that muscle of like, okay, I like this, I don't like this, and I like this other thing. That's kind of how you find out, okay, this is actually what I want to use.
Yeah. So Brandon, I am excited to have you on, and I'm pretty sure that the most of my followers or subscribers know exactly who you are. But for the ones that don't, kind of give us a little bit about yourself, how you got started on YouTube, and what your passion is for making that YouTube content.
Yeah. So I always find it challenging to describe myself. I say I'm a person who likes to wear a lot of hats. I think if I had to pick one hat to wear, I would call myself a product designer.
Hmm.
It's what I've done for the last decade or so. I think most people probably have heard of me on the internet. The small amount of people who have heard of me on the internet probably know of my YouTube channel where I talk about tools for focus, things that help people be more intentional with their time and their energy. I nerd out about tech, like many people on the internet.
Hmm.
And when I'm not talking about that stuff on the internet, I'm a product designer. I work at a company called Dorsata. We help doctors deliver healthier babies with smart software. And then, as well, I've just launched this new thing called
Yeah.
Playlist, and I'm excited to finally share that with everyone after, gosh, 12, 15 months in the making.
Yeah.
Things take a little longer than you expect them to take.
Yeah, I think I first heard you mention playlists maybe 6 or 7 months ago. I was checking out one of your reviews. I think you were talking about a process on the Remarkable Paper Pro. And I was like, I wonder
Mm-hmm.
what this
Mm-hmm.
playlist is. And then Ed over at Organize for Change and She Inc. also put some information in the Discord about it. And once I saw your video a couple of days ago, I got excited about it because I said, man, I really want to learn about this. I guess the first question would be, what is the story behind playlists? I know we got a little bit of it in your in like your advertisement video, but I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, I guess we should probably start with how it got started, like where the
Mhm.
idea came from. Um, I am, whether I want it to be or not, a productivity nerd. I think there's something like deep down wired in there of I'm a forgetful person by default. I get very deep into whatever I'm working on, and unless I write something down or I put something somewhere, it may or may not come back up. And so I've used probably almost every to-do list out there. I spent a long time in Things on the Mac, spent a good bit of time in TickTick, and then most recently before playlists, I was using a tool called Akiflow.
Okay.
And I think it was with Akiflow that I really began to notice that to-do lists, as good as they are, there's some fundamental challenges to how to-do lists work. There's this fundamental fallacy, which is everything in a to-do list looks of equal importance and equal effort. And probably more importantly, everything on your to-do list gives you the same dopamine hit. And so when you check something off, we say, congratulations, you did a good job. And your brain gets that little drip of dopamine that we so desire. And we're wired at a deep level to want that dopamine. That's just chemically how we're wired. And so over time, what we're programmed to do is try to find the path of least resistance to get that dopamine. And what that means in a to do list is we have this big important thing here, and then we've got these little teeny tiny things, and they all give us that same dopamine hit. And so inevitably, we're always going to default to the small, easy thing that's very clear cut, and you know exactly how to do it. And you inevitably mark those things off. What happens is you do lots and lots of those things, and then you come back to that big thing, and then you're exhausted. You've used all of your good energy, and you no longer have the energy to actually work on that meaningful thing. And I was like, hold on, this is actually running counter to what actually makes a lot of us successful. It's not being busy, it's actually those handful of tasks that are actually genuinely important. And getting those things done are what actually makes a big difference at the end of the week or at the end of the month and at the end of the year. And so I wanted to create a tool where we didn't have to constantly think about that. We didn't have to have like constant willpower to push ourselves to do the hard thing. How do we have a tool that understands that deep down that's the thing that we want to work on and we should work on, that we're going to feel long and enduring satisfaction if we complete it? How do we create a tool that's sort of on the same page with us and is aligned with those goals? And so I had thought about building this a couple of years ago. I came to the conclusion that I was like, no, I don't need to build a to-do list now. And then the idea just kept coming back to me and it kept coming back to me. And finally I was like, yeah, it's time to build this.
Man, that's cool. I myself I'm really forgetful as well, and that's one of the reasons why when I really found e-ink, it was something I wanted to use. I use it kind of like an idea box where I store
Mm-hmm.
those ideas when I get them. I try to do to-do lists, honestly, be honest with you. Sometimes I don't stick to the do list because I call myself trying to multitask and I get distracted by starting a project, then I jump to the other
Mm-hmm.
one, and next thing I know, I have 5 projects started and I haven't completed one. And the only time I'm truly focused on completing things is for work because I have hard
Mm-hmm.
deadlines that I have to meet. But when it comes to kind of like my personal projects, like I'm writing a book now and I get distracted between working on writing the book and having time to do YouTube and then having the time to, do my wife's business that she runs as well. So that's one thing I need to work on. Oh,
I don't think it comes easily. Like I don't think these things are natural for us as people. And inevitably, the urgent thing always ends up taking priority by default,
Yeah.
unless we consciously try and insulate from that. And I think the thing that you were mentioning is like 100% the thing that I'm trying to solve here is like,
Mm,
as humans, we're complex. We have lots of things. We do work, we have family, we have side projects, we have aspirations, and inevitably, unless we take a like an active role, those side projects and aspirations will always like keep getting punted.
mhm,
And so like I saw this firsthand in YouTube is um I knew that I was not going to get the instant gratification that I wanted in YouTube. Like even if I did everything right, I'm not going to have a video that hits 100,000 views. I'm not going to get to 10,000 subscribers. That is not a sprint, that's a marathon. And so kind of have to take it like a marathon. So like a marathon runner, and I'm not a marathon runner, let's
mhm,
start there, does not think about running an entire marathon. They think about splits, they think about laps. And one of the core principles of playlist is how do we set sort of a standard of something we're going to do each week that is going to represent that thing that we want to
mm,
happen. So like writing your book or doing an episode of this podcast at the start of the week, set one or two focuses for the week of something you want to get done this week, and playlist will keep that front and center throughout the week. It'll kind of push you to pick a date and time when
yeah,
you intend to do that. And then at the end of the week, you get to see that you actually did it. You can carry that momentum into the next week.
mm.
And so that's what I did on YouTube is I said I was going to put out a video every 2 weeks. I don't know what it is, but my cadence, if you will, is that I want to put out a video every 2 weeks. And I knew if I did that long enough, and I listened to the feedback, and I took opportunities that came up from that, that inevitably or eventually that would lead to something interesting. Um, and I found that that works in most things. Most people give up before their desired
Yeah.
outcome occurs. And so, how do you set yourself up for success in the long run versus just I do this thing and then I get this response. Well, the response you want is going to take longer than you want it to, just like playlists took me longer to build than I wanted it to.
No, you're right, and that makes sense. I never really looked at it like that, but that does make sense. I guess I kind of did in regards to like my YouTube channel. When I first started, I was obsessed with how many views I got, how many subs I got per day, and I looked at it and I said, I'm a new channel, new content. No one knows who I am. Stop caring about what those numbers are, care about the content you're putting out, and set realistic goals. So if I got 100 views this week, let's see if I can get 150 the next. I never and with the marathon analogy, I never thought about it because I was as an athlete, I played a little bit in in college. That's kind of the approach I took in developing the talent and just getting better. Like it didn't happen the first day I stepped on a football field, but over a couple of months in weight training and things like that, I hit the goals that I wanted to.
Yeah, I don't consider myself like especially talented at anything. I put in a lot of effort and I do something that's sustainable.
Mhm.
So like could I have done a video every week? Maybe, but I would have burnt out if I had done that.
Yeah.
And so 2 weeks was something that I knew I could do reliably. And if I didn't meet that, that was just me deciding not to show up.
Mhm.
And so, what is something that I could sustain for a long period of time? And I don't want to say put it on autopilot,
Yeah.
but if you meet that standard reliably, like good things will happen, or you'll learn that this doesn't work, and some
Mhm.
other opportunity will come up, and that's okay too. Like you have to listen to those things as well, but just sticking with it longer than I think most other people are willing to.
No, I agree. I agree. So you gave us a little bit of what playlist was, kind of the origins of it. And you even told us a little bit of how it works with the the example you just gave. Are there some other inner workings of playlists that you want to talk about for us? Is it, how you would use it on a daily basis, and what that interface looks like, I guess?
So I guess to answer your question, there are a million things I could talk about playlists. So
Mhm.
I will begin to ramble and reel me in when we get too far down the deep end.
Okay.
I think the core thing is that differentiation of tasks. So like deciding what is my one or two meaningful things that I want to do this week.
Hmm.
Keep that thing front and center, and see at the end of the week that you actually accomplish some really cool things. Um, I think that is like the most basic of things is just keeping your main thing, and having it always visible. So, for instance, on the Mac app, in the little status bar in the top right where you've got your time,
Hmm.
it'll also have your focus task for the week. So
Oh.
that's always there until you mark it done, and so there's just no way for you to miss it. Um, but at a deeper level, there's some psychology here, which is another fundamental fallacy with like to-do lists or calendars, in my opinion, is that they're always in planning view. So, in other words, like the view of your calendar is always the optimized view for adding stuff, moving stuff around, seeing the big picture. And I think that's fantastic when we're actually planning,
Hmm.
but it's actually counterproductive to doing any one thing. So once you get to some sufficiently high level of being busy, seeing everything that's on your calendar for the day is actually disruptive to doing the one thing that you need to do right now. And so in playlists, there's actually a dedicated planning view and then a dedicated doing view. Because I don't know about you, but when I sit down to do that like big, hard, difficult thing,
Yeah.
the last thing I want to see is everything else
Everything.
that's
Yeah.
on my list for today. I just need to put the blinders on, if you will,
Hmm.
and just see that one thing. So that's the other big thing behind playlist. I guess the like bigger methodology piece of this is this idea of the weekly cadence. So everything in playlist is optimized around a week, and it pushes you to set a planning day. So like a day when you'll set sort of your intentions for the week. You will pick the tasks that you intend to do this week. You can snooze out the things that you know you're not going to get to this week so that you don't have to see everything that doesn't matter right now. So we're actively picking which things we intend to do and those that we are especially saying that we don't intend to do.
Hmm.
Because that's the other thing is a lot of us, once you use a to-do list and use it at a deep level, you inevitably will populate it with all of these things that you so want to do,
Hmm.
but you can't get to all of them right now. And so a first step is snoozing out the things that you know you don't have time for this week, and they'll come back into your inbox when they unsnooze. So you can say, okay, snooze that to next week, snooze that to next month, snooze this to next year even, and then it'll drop back into your inbox and go, hey, am I important now? And then on your planning day, you can go, yeah, I'm gonna try and get that done this week, or nope, it's still not time, or maybe it's no, let me actually delete you because you're no longer that task is no longer important. I no longer intend to work on that.
That that's I like that you brought that up because that's one of the big things I do with to-do list. I'll start on Monday because that Monday is normally my planning day for my goals I want to set for
Mm-hmm.
work and also my goals for the week. And I will write down 10 to-dos that I want to
Mm-hmm.
get completed. And at the end of Monday, when I do kind of like my nightcap journal is what I call it, I look at that list to see what I've completed, and there are more X's than checks, I promise. But it's like, oh, I'll just roll that to the next day. So I roll it to the next day, roll it to the next day, and then by the end of the week, the majority of that to do list, I didn't even touch. You know, it was rolled to the next day, and then I did complete the main things that I needed to do, but some of the smaller things I didn't. And, this app seems like it's something that can help you out with managing those things that need to get done, putting those priority first things in view to be able to focus on those things and take care of it and then kind of plan better. And I think that's my biggest issue is planning better.
So I think there's a couple things there. Like planning better is a big thing, and I think something that I learned about myself is I never considered myself a planner. That was definitely not like how I'm wired deep down. This is more of a learned skill through my work in startups. So something I learned in startups is there's always more that could be done.
Hmm.
And so a core thing that I learned is okay, figuring out where we're going to spend our time. And our default nature as humans is we want to please others. We want to be able to say yes. We want to do the thing that will make that other person happy. And so when someone asks you, "Can you do this?"
Hmm.
your default answer you always want to say is yes. And something I found is I would say yes, and then I would realize that I didn't actually have time to do that thing, and
Yeah.
then some actually important thing had to punt out. And so I learned that I was not a good predictor of time and space within my week to do things. And so that evolved over time with time blocking, and a lot of that influence is here in playlists. But the big goal here is to help us spatially reason with the amount of time we have available in the week. There's only so many spots in the week, and there's especially only so many spots for when your focus and your energy is sharp. And so the one of the other goals behind playlist is don't fill your high energy time or your best energy time with low energy tasks.
Hmm.
So here's a fun little exercise. Aaron, would you consider yourself a morning person or a night owl?
Probably more of a night owl.
Okay. So in this situation, what you want to do is you want to hold that time for your most important thing.
Mhm.
So it might be working on a video, it might be scheduling a podcast like this, but you wouldn't want to fill that time with doing your taxes or taking out the trash, things like that. And for a lot of morning people, that's what they end up doing. They've got five things on their list, then they have their one big thing, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to knock out these five things, and then I'll be able to focus on my important thing. And then what inevitably happens is they do those five things, and then lunchtime comes around, and all of their good energy is gone, and they no longer have the energy or the focus to do the meaningful thing. And so, goal within playlists is to let you set that and then see, okay, when am I going to do this? Let me make sure I hold time in my high energy places for my focus tasks. And I'll do the smaller, lower energy things in those little pockets of time, maybe in between meetings or right before lunch or after lunch, in those little small spots that inevitably happen in our week.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm usually a night owl because a lot of it is I working for an airline. It's a 24-hour operation in
Mm-hmm.
aircraft maintenance. So I'm more of a night owl because it seems like that's when I have my best focus. Even though
Mm-hmm.
most of the time I'm at the hangar at 6 in the morning. I'm leaving at 2:30, but then it's like that's when I get in the groove of doing my other creative stuff. And 2 days out
Yeah.
the week, I'm there from 6 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. So I'm just used to being up. We actually talked about and covered the role of personal development and organization with the focus productivity. Um, I know you spoke about when you sign up for playlists, you get a consultation to see what your needs are. So, how does
Yeah.
that look when you're tailoring playlists to someone's individual needs?
Yeah. Okay, so this is really interesting. So there's kind of two sides to this.
Mm.
One, I think it's helpful for the user because one, they get to see how the tool's intended to be used. And playlist is very simple on the surface, but there's a lot sort of underneath the hood and a lot of intention around how it's built.
Hmm.
And it'd be really difficult for someone to learn all of that just by using the tool. And so, in that call, one, I take a moment to understand the person, what they're trying to accomplish, what sort of focus struggles they're having. So, like, what is it that they're really trying to get better at? And then be able to show them how they can use playlists to do that. So that's one part of it. The other part of it, the sort of self-serving part of it for me is I'm a single founder. I came up with the idea for this. I sketched it. I built it. I do my own support. I talk about it on YouTube. And so there's only one of me. And so, as much as I'd love to open the floodgates and just let everyone in, I don't actually think that's a recipe for success. I'd rather move slow, move methodically, and see how people are using the tools, see where it's working well, more importantly, see where it's not working well, and continue to evolve it. And so, partially for them to make sure that they understand the tool and understand the methodology behind the tool, and then also partially just making sure that I'm not setting us up for failure by having 1,000 people day one or 2,000 people day one, and then everyone's just sending in tickets for the same exact thing that needs to get fixed.
I heard you say that you were a one man operation. That's a lot because once you get people signed up and on the platform, you're handling everything from the personalization, the one on one consultations, any troubleshooting they have with the app, like you're the help center as well too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So at the start of the call, you asked like how would you describe yourself? I've
Hmm.
always been a person who likes wearing a lot of hats. So for instance, my undergraduate degree is in marketing. I worked in design in a print shop all through college. That was where I learned how to write code, and then I started working in startups. And so I find that there's a really cool thing that happens when you're involved in all of the things.
Hmm.
There's not like handoffs and say so and so worries about that and so worries about this. It's all my problem. Like it's all like it all has to work well together and has to serve the user. And so I think there's something that's really cool by being able to do all of those things. And it takes sort of either one of my strengths or one of my
Hmm.
weaknesses, depending on how you want to look at it, which is I can do all of these things. And so this allows me to kind of do something that traditionally maybe we would have three people or five people. And as long as I do it slow and steady and methodically, I think it's going to turn out really great. If I open the floodgates, maybe that's not
Right.
the best idea. But yeah.
Yeah, I like it. The whole system sounds amazing to me. It sounds like something that really can help someone be productive and hit those goals. And from just the introduction video I saw the other day and some of the things you said along the way, I'm really excited about it. We talked about I heard you say a couple of times the Mac app. Just for
Mhm.
like compatibility of platforms, what all apps or what all devices will this app be available for?
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with today. So
Hmm.
today it's available on the Mac as a native app. It's available on any system as a web app,
Okay.
and then it's available on iPhone.
Okay.
So eventually we'll also have a Windows app and we'll also have an Android app. But again, for the initial group, we're going to focus just on the Mac and on web and on the iPhone. And then as that gets to exactly where it needs to be. People are incredibly happy and serving them well. And I feel like I've got the capacity to work on the Windows app. Then we'll expand to Windows and we'll expand to Android. So, perfect fit user today is on a Mac with an iPhone and uses Google Calendar as
Mhm.
their default calendar,
Okay.
but will eventually support Outlook and will eventually support iCal. But yeah.
So you'll know I'm not the technical guy. I love tech. I'm not the technical guy. I just love using tech. So with the applications that you spoke of, like Mac OS, Google Calendars, things like that, is this a system or app that I could use on an Android e-ink tablet? So let's say my books tablet that can support those third-party apps once the app is available there. Is that something that you could use there, or would it be best served using on the other platforms, the devices?
So I wouldn't recommend it, but for a couple of reasons. Well, one, Android's not something we officially support today.
Mm-hmm.
It will eventually work, but not today. The other thing about e-ink in particular is the refresh rate.
Mm,
And so like that's going to be an interesting piece is like how fluid does it feel on a what is it? 3 hertz screen.
mm.
I did run it on the daylight computer for a little
Wow.
while, and it runs reasonably well on the daylight computer. So I'm not gonna say it won't eventually work well there, but that's not where we're starting our focus.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I had to ask because I love e-ink. I try to put everything on e-ink at least once. And
Oh yeah.
watching YouTube on my Go 7 was a little cringe, but I got it done.
Yeah.
I got it done.
I bet you watched less YouTube when you were watching YouTube on the Ghost.
You do watch. I was on a plane. I was going somewhere, and that's what I had in my hand at the time. So I just hopped on YouTube, and it was okay for about 3 minutes, and then I said I'm just gonna read. So just went to Kindle and started reading a book.
It's probably not a bad outcome in the
Yeah,
long
yeah.
run.
So for like the pricing model with this, after you get your consultation, because I know first off, let's talk about actually signing up for playlists, because I know there's a wait list as well. And then we'll roll into for as what type of model is it? A subscription model base where I'm paying monthly? Can I pay annually? So how does that look?
Yeah, so there is a wait list, and then again, that gets back to being single founder, trying to make sure that we can support people, that everyone's having a great time. So we let in 10 people this week, we'll let in another 10 people next week, maybe we'll double it the week after. That's sort of where we're at right now. You can sign up at playlist.day. There will be a quick survey that asks you, hey, what's your primary computer? What's your primary phone? What's your primary calendar? The goal there is to figure out who's a great fit for today's version of playlist and bring those people in, because what we don't want to do is get the Outlook user who's on Windows and on Android. Like, we know that
Mm,
that's not the right fit. There will be a day where playlist will be great for that person. It's not November 22nd.
right.
And so that's the goal there, is to get the people who are going to have a great time on this version to the front of the line, and get those people in, and then we'll grow it and add more support for more devices as that makes sense. Talking about pricing, so I dabbled with this for a while, and I looked at all of the economics behind this, and subscription is the way to go for this. And the reason I came to that conclusion is, are you familiar with the app Things on the Mac?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So Things is this app. It's like one of the relatively first Mac OS getting things done apps. So like your traditional David Allen to-do lists. And it's a fantastic piece of software. I think the first version of it came out in 2007. And I used it for a number of years. It's great. It's a one-time purchase. I want to say it's like 99 bucks. You buy it once and it works forever. You do have to buy it on each device you use it on. So you have to buy it for the Mac, and you have to buy it for the iPhone, you have
Mhm.
to buy it for the iPad. But you buy it once and you've got it. It's a great tool. But if you look at things today in 2025, it looks almost exactly the same as it looked in 2007. And that's because they did a one time purchase. They get all their money up front, and whether you use it for 6 months or you use it for 6 years, doesn't really matter. They have no incentive to innovate and to keep making it better. And because of that, the app doesn't evolve and it doesn't improve. And my goal with Playlist is that Playlist will continue to evolve and get better, and I want to continue working on it. And so when we have a subscription model and we have to continue to like win users and keep users, we're incentivized to continue to make it better and to continue improving it. And so that was why we went with the subscription model. The cool thing about Playlist, at least today's version of Playlist, is it's a subscription model, but you get to pick your price.
Mm.
So you can pick any price between $3 a month and $25 a month, depending on the value you're getting. And we're good with that for now. I don't know that we'll keep that pricing forever, but for people who sign up today, whatever price you pick is the price you'll keep. So yeah, that was my thought around how do we have a subscription model where we're
Mhm.
incentivized to keep evolving, but don't price ourselves out of the market. Where there are tools in this market that are $25, $30 a month. There are tools in this market that are $3 and $4 a month. And depending on who you are, you sit somewhere on that continuum for playlist. And I want to just let people choose the value that they're getting and start there.
I heard you speak about you tried some other platforms or other apps or programs for this very use case or purpose, and it just didn't work out for you. So I guess my question would be, what makes playlists stand out, better than some of the other options that are out there, or the most recent option that you tried before you moved to playlists? Like, what's the key thing, I guess, that stands out for you that helped you develop playlists and you think playlist is a better option?
Yeah. So there's a story that comes to mind. Um, Let me start by saying I'm not here to bash
Oh yeah.
AkiFlow. I think AkiFlow is a great tool. Um, I was using AkiFlow, and AkiFlow is optimized for doing as much as possible. Like, how do you get as many tasks in and as many tasks out? The like very traditional like form of productivity. And I find for me doing more stuff in general does not necessarily move the needle on success. It's me doing a handful of the right things that drives success. And there was a moment when I was using that tool where my like first hour of the day when I wake up, is my highest energy time of day. That's like when I get my meaningful stuff done. It's when I write YouTube scripts, it's when I design like important features. That is my like high value time. And this tool would let me put everything in here that I wanted to do. And I noticed in that first 90 minutes or so of the day, instead of getting right to the thing that I should work on, I spent a lot of time deciding what thing to work on. So if I had 90 minutes, I might spend 30 of that just picking which thing to do.
Mm,
And I had this theory. I was like, what if I took a sticky note? And what if the night before I wrote on that sticky note what I was going to work on? And when I got up in the morning, I'm not going to open my to do list. I'm just going to look at the sticky note and do what the sticky note says. And I found that I got more stuff done with that approach
mhm,
than that $300 a year productivity tool.
mm.
And I was like, there's something wrong with this. Or at least this tool is not optimized for me and what is success for me. And so I tried to build a tool that focused more on that. What is that one thing, while not having me forget the other things that I need to get done, but having a tool that understands what I'm supposed to be doing when and aligns with that. And that's what kicked me into gear of saying, "Oh, I do actually need to go build this thing." This thing that I thought maybe was a distraction. No, this is where I need to be spending my energy and spending my focus. And so that was the point where I kind of put my YouTube channel on pause for a little bit and said, "All right, let's go try and build this playlist thing and see where it goes." Fast forward 15 months and we're here.
Yeah, this thing. I'm excited about it. This sounds like a resource and a tool will help people save time, get a focus on what they're doing, and be productive, and reach those goals that they're trying to reach. Because, like I said earlier, all the things that you mentioned, the playlist actually helps you out to do, which seems like a very intuitive way to do it, are things I struggle with on a daily basis. From, like you said earlier, being able to say no to things. Like I say yes to everything. Can you do this? Yeah, I can do it. Even though I know I don't have time, but yeah, I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna do it, and I'll spend extra time doing this, and that bleeds into other goals or tasks I had down. So I like it, and I think it's a very effective app and system. Do you have any facts about playlists that we haven't covered that you want to let people know about? Maybe some questions that I didn't ask, but you do want to let people know about playlists?
So I guess maybe something that's unintuitive is playlist is first and foremost a methodology. Um, and this is again a little bit of a soapbox I have. I think it's kind of wild that we have all these utilitarian applications that don't have opinions on how they're used. And so what that means is you get this tool, and then you have to build your own methodology for how you're going to manage your tasks. And then you're going to take this methodology that you build. Maybe you go read 5 books and come up with your system. And you go, all right, I'm going to go apply my system into this to do list that I'm using. The problem is this to do list you're using doesn't know about your methodology, it wasn't built for your methodology. And so it's not helping enforce your methodology or make it easier to enact your methodology. And so one of the conscious decisions behind playlist was there are enough to do lists that if I make an opinionated one and it doesn't work for someone, they can go use one of the other ones. And so I used that to say, we're going to make playlist with a very intentional methodology baked into it. It's intended to be used with a weekly cadence. It's expected that you're going to pick a day that you're going to use as your planning day where you're going to look at your inbox and you're going to decide which things you intend to do and which things you don't intend to do. And then at the end of the week, you get to reflect on those things and what you did. So kind of like journaling, if you will. And you can kind of see that progress like week over week over week. And over time, that'll add up. And so that was the idea behind playlists is it has a methodology baked in, and if it works for you it's going to be magical. And if it doesn't work for you, there are 1,000 other to-do lists that you can go do your own methodology within.
before we get out, I'm gonna get you to let everybody know where they can actually, because you told us earlier, it's playlist. I have it on here, playlist.day, where they can sign up for the waiting list, and then you'll get assigned a number. And then as you move through the list, you'll get contacted. But there's also a way that you can kind of move up the list. So how does that process go?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, answer that 4 question survey. That'll jump you ahead of everyone who hasn't answered that survey.
Mhm.
And then I think right now that'll get you into the 3 to 4 hundreds. Um, if you then refer people, so if you help spread the word about playlists and say, hey, this is something I'm interested in, I think maybe you'd be interested in it too. For each person who also joins the waitlist from your link, you'll also jump up the waitlist. And so this helps me find out one, who's a great fit for this version of playlist, and then who's excited, like
Yeah.
who is banging down the door, if you will, to try this out. And let's get those people to the front of the line. And then those people who are on the fence, we'll get to them eventually.
Hmm.
But this is a way that, as a single person, I can make sure that I'm giving my energy and giving my focus to the people who are excited and who think that this might work for them.
Cool, cool. We're gonna add those links in the description of the video, so people who are excited about it, they can check it out. They can sign up, uh, and they can get started with you once you get to their number. Before I let you go, I want to ask you a couple of eating questions if you have some time.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's do it.
So I kind of know, but for those who don't, what is your e-ink tablet daily use platform today that you're using?
Yeah. So it's really quite interesting. So you were asking about YouTube earlier on, and my first video on e-ink was about the Books Note Air 2 Plus, I think.
Well,
And I had in the thumbnail for that video better than the remarkable, and because I was just getting started and everyone was talking about the remarkable, and I saw this Books Note Air device and I was like, this thing does so much more than the remarkable. Like, why is everyone sleeping on this device? And it does do so much more than the remarkable. That device can do so many amazing things. And so I did that video, and I inadvertently got into the e-ink game because people asked me, like, okay, well, is it better than the Supernote?
Mhm,
And is it actually better than the Remarkable? And at that time, I didn't have either of those devices. And so I went and I got those devices and I reviewed those devices. And then I kind of saw sort of what my opinion was on it. And so that was a really long winded answer. But today I daily drive a Remarkable Paper Pro.
mm,
It doesn't do as many things as the Books Note Air 2 Plus, but it does do the handful of things that I need to do, and it does them the best. So when it comes to, and I hate to like coin their marketing, but their marketing is actually very on point here.
mhm.
You just want a distraction-free focus device that replaces paper. Um, I, this is the best one for me and what I do. Gets out of my way. I find that I get into flow state. And this is the one sort of that I spend my time with. I do run it without the folio.
Mhm.
I have the folio. I do not use the folio usually. And nowadays, this one stays on my desk, and I have the Remarkable Paper Move. Sorry, I always get that name wrong. It's the Remarkable Paper Pro Move, which is a very long title.
It's very
And this,
long-winded.
I think the first clip I recorded for this device, I called it the Remarkable Paper Move. And then I had to re record the intro because I was like, oh crap, that's not actually the title of this device. But yeah, this is the one that I take with me. So if I'm going to a co working space or, going to work from a small desk, this is the one that goes with me. And then I keep the big one on my desk.
Your move video was the first video on launch day with the move that I watched. That and it's not a knock to any other creator. It was the first video I felt like I wasn't watching an advertisement, because
Mm.
I love Kit, I love Voya's content as well, and I like Rod is one of my favorite content creators, and of course Ed Finn. Ed doesn't use Remarkable. Broad didn't have it at the time, and so I clicked on yours because first I was like, oh, Brandon put out an e-ink video, let me watch it, and so I checked it out, and I love the video. I loved how you kind of just previewed it or reviewed it. You really weren't. It wasn't a sales pitch. And I was on
Mm-hmm.
the fence about it. I was skeptical. I used the Paper Pro once, and I didn't like the color flash, and I said it doesn't do enough. My
Mm-hmm.
10.3
Mm-hmm.
does everything I needed to do, and I ended up getting it in my hands,
Mm-hmm.
and I love this thing to the point where I'm about to buy a Remarkable Paper Pro because I feel like you said, I use it for my creative writing, my journaling when I'm working on my book because I just feel focused. I feel like I'm back to just using paper and pen.
Mm-hmm.
The books is not a distraction for me, but when I'm using the books tablet, I feel like I have to complete a task. So I use it for work. I use it for completing some tasks, like I do my podcast outline on it, or I do a lot of the heavy lifting at work with it. Um, but the Remarkable platform, I love it. I love the whole distraction free thing, and I just feel like I can concentrate on being creative. Um, and so I'm kind of slowly pivoting to Remarkable to the point where I might just only use Remarkable. Never thought I would say that
Yeah,
though.
it's one of those things where I don't necessarily think this device is the right device for everyone.
Hmm.
And it's probably like when I bought the books, I remember that feeling like so much money at the time. I'm gonna say it was like 400 bucks at the time.
Hmm.
And I wanted it to do more things for that money. And so like the fact that it could do more things. I think it was specifically the fact that it had a front light that really like was the thing that like put it over the edge for me. Cuz I had this idea that it was going to replace my Kindle and it was going to
Hmm.
like let me consolidate all of these devices and like when you're spending a lot of money that feels really good.
Yeah.
And once I had it, I realized that although it could do all of these things, it wasn't the best at any of those things. And so, like, if I was just trying to read, my Kindle Oasis was better.
Yeah.
Or like for apps, like my iPad was better, or maybe my Mac was better. And so although it has amazing utility, I didn't feel like it was the best at like writing, for example. Like there were some quirks in the Books writing app that like would constantly drive me nuts. Like little teeny tiny things. Like it was 98% right,
Hmm.
but the 1 or 2% irritant like really adds up and it breaks that immersion of I'm I'm one with my thoughts. And I know it sounds so quirky to say that I'm one with my thoughts. I feel like that's a very remarkableism to say, but like it's a very legitimate thing when you're trying to get into flow state, when you're
Yeah.
trying to like design something and really like pull things out in your head that like you don't know are there and may or may not be there, but then every once in a while you'll get there and these I don't want to call them moments of brilliance, but things that you didn't know were there come out. And when you can get those things, maybe they happen once a week or twice a week, like that's kind of magical. And like that's the stuff that moves things forward. Like you get an idea that unlocks some aspect of an app that you're building or that changes the experience of something. You don't know when those are going to come or if they're going to come. And so those things that break you out of that are actually, again, I'm probably overstating it a little bit, like problematic from a flow perspective.
No, you're right. And I didn't have the words for it until I really heard you say this, getting in a flow state, because, I love using my books devices, but when I'm using them for creative writing or just focusing, small things happen like palm rejection. The
Mm-hmm.
palm rejection sucks on books products. So when you're in a flow, when you're writing it and you're in that groove, and next thing you know, you switch to the third page or you've exited out of the notes app altogether because of the palm rejection. Or I got to cut it off, or I have to cut the palm rejection off so I can actually write. But then when I want to go build my table of contents, well, I have to cut it back on, long press the screen. So no, you are 100% right about that, and I'm slowly pivoting to the Remarkable platform.
I guess
Never
one
thought.
thing I will say, this
Mm-hmm.
is not a perfect device. Like there are things I love about the Remarkable Paper Pro. Uh, It doesn't need to be color. I wish it weren't color. um, but this is the best one that exists today until a actual black and white version of this
Mm.
exists. And I don't know when or if that'll ever happen, but like I would probably trade this one in the moment a black
A
and
black
white
and white
version
one.
of this size came in. Yes. 100%.
I don't use that much color. So the color flash bothered me when I actually tested out the Remarkable Paper Pro. But once I started using the move and I realized how I use color, I only use it for highlights, to be honest with you. So
Mm-hmm.
the color flash doesn't bother me that much at all. But I,
the
yeah,
the
I
color
like
highlighting is fun. So like I know I just said I hate the color, but
it.
when you can shade something in
Yeah,
and it actually I know it sounds like such a little thing. Like I do actually really like that. But would I take a faster, snappier, sharper, remarkable in exchange of for giving up highlighting? 100%.
yeah,
No
yeah.
question.
Brandon, I'm excited about the e-ink conversation we just had. More importantly, I'm excited about the playlist conversation we had. I know you're gonna be successful with it. Seems like a wonderful app. Can't wait to get on that list and have a consultation with you um, to get started with it. Because I did sign up. I think I'm number like 1,000 something. So Ron signed up too, and I think he's the same 1,043, something like that. But I'm super excited about this for you. I know you're gonna have success with it. I can't wait to try it out. Tell everyone where they can catch your content. And I know we've talked about how to sign up for playlists, but let them know again how they can sign up for playlists again. Anything you have coming in the future with playlist or your content that you want to talk about.
Yeah, so I guess first and foremost, thanks for having me, Aaron. I really appreciate it. You can check out playlist at playlist.day, join the wait list. Again, answer those questions. And if that you're still not high enough on the list, refer a couple of people. Um, I'm really bad at YouTube these days because I've been so focused on playlist. I had to have YouTube take a back seat, if you will. And so I'll be more active on there now that playlist is launching. So that's Brandon K. Boswell on YouTube. Or if you look up Remarkable E Ink, maybe you'll find me, maybe you won't. I'm not sure. And then lastly, I sometimes post at brandonkboswell.com. That's my like Obsidian digital garden
Mm.
where any moments of brilliance slash ignorance come up on there and kind of go out to the world. Again, I haven't been posting a ton lately just because I've been focused, but if you're curious, that's another place you can check it out.
All right, everybody. Brandon Boswell, thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on to my channel as well. As someone who follows your content, I'm excited, I'm thankful, and I'm glad you wanted to come on and have a conversation with me about this project that you have started with playlists. Everybody go check out his content, check out playlists, sign up for it, and get ready to improve your focus and productivity.
Awesome. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So I hope you all enjoyed the conversation with Brandon Boswell, the creator of Playlists, the best organization app that you can buy. If this sounds like something you're interested in and you want to check it out, go ahead and click the link inside the description so you can sign up for your one on one consultation with Brandon to see if Playlist is a fit for you and to get started. Thank you guys for checking out the content, and we'll see you next time.